adult is hard. It's definitely hard. And to what you said is, with kids, you're pushed to your extremes, and then you've got
Parents can do it. They just have to believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And you're holding your child on your chest, skin to skin.
Awesome.
You're right.
So welcome to Catholic Parents Reacts. This is the 99 Sheep Co. Reaction video to the Jubilee media. Do you regret not having kids? Parents versus child-free middle ground discussion. So we've got Winfred and Joanna here. Welcome, guys.
Hello.
Let's jump right into it.
Because the term ultimately kind of has a lot of power to it. I think there are other ways that people show maturity, but when I think of what maturity is, I think that maturity is fundamentally selflessness, right? The thinking about others before yourself. And I do believe that one of the primary ways that a person can show concern for somebody else other than themselves is when they bring a child into the world.
You know, and I totally agree with you. I think ultimate is not the word we want, but I think it is about maturity. And I think part of maturity is caring for other people. And one of the things about having kids that's so incredible is they have so much to teach us.
I totally disagree with that statement because I know people firsthand that have children and they are totally not mature and responsible. And I know people that don't have kids that are totally mature and responsible. I could go hours talking about them, but just to say it plain, that's as basic as I can go, and I can let Joanna say something about it too.
Yeah, so I think you're right. We kind of have this epidemic of, what do they call it? Kidults. You might have heard that term, adulting. I've heard that so many times over the last few years where it's like these adults who should be grown and mature are putting on this charade, like this is how I imagine adults might act if they were my age. It's really, really odd. But the thing is, you should be progressing in your maturity. And one thing that does help you progress in your maturity, if you are capable of carrying children, because of course there are nuns and priests who have spiritual children, but if you're able to have children, you absolutely should. Having children is one of the main things that it helps actually show you what you're capable of doing. As a mother, I didn't know my strengths. I didn't know how much I could do. I didn't know the pain that I was capable of enduring until I had kids. And then I thought, whoa, like this, everybody says, for example, childbirth. This is supposed to be the most painful experience of a woman or an adult's life. Actually, I shouldn't say adult because you might think that I'm one of those people who think men can have children. Sorry. But it is true. Women go through this experience being told that this is going to be the most painful experience that you ever have in your life. I've been through it twice. It was painful. I endured it. So why are we lying to these women, young women now, and telling them that they're too weak and they can't handle it? We should actually be building up and encouraging young people and saying, this is something that you can do and you're capable of doing great. That is when you lose that pain and overcome it, then you realize you could even endure more. And likewise, you could even endure more work. I actually was looking at my prayer journal today. Back in 2020, I was writing, oh dear Lord, please help me. I'm not sure if I'm able to get through this moment of time because I've taken on too many responsibilities. I feel so burdened. I've got probably 1,000 times more responsibilities, and I'm doing it. Parents can do it. They just have to believe in themselves.
Yeah. Exactly right. And I think to some extent that adulting or kidulting kind of, the world of, oh, this is what an adult should do or would be doing. That's, a little bit, it's difficult because I don't think a lot of us got that guidance or, by no fault of our own, perhaps our parents were trying to shield us a little bit, but I think to some extent that the growing up piece is difficult because we haven't really had those conversations. So I hope to try and fix that with my kids and show them this is what to expect. And being an adult is hard. It's definitely hard. And to what you said is, with kids, you're pushed to your extremes and then you've got a new bar set, right? It's really, I think, this discussion about the extreme level of responsibility and maturity. Sure, you can be mature without kids, and you can certainly be adequately mature. But I think there's a another level of maturity or development that is kind of forced upon you if you want to be a good parent, if you want to be a good husband and wife.
Yeah.
Another thing is that we don't come with parenting doesn't come with a manual, right? And I'm pretty sure that all of us we had kids when we were young, so we didn't know what we were doing, right? So we learn as we go, and hopefully we learn to be responsible enough and to teach our children how to be good adults as they grow. My kids are 24, 22, 17, and 7 years old, so I have the whole gamut. And not to brag, but I think my kids are great. One of them is in Pennsylvania finishing school. My 22-year-old is in South Korea in the military. My 17-year-old is graduating. She's going to college. So I think I've done my part in being responsible, learning how to be mature enough to raise them. So yeah, parenting does teaches us how to be mature and responsible enough. Unfortunately, some people don't learn how to cope with their kids, and as Catholics, we need to fight and have they either how to do it or they get the help to learn how to do it.
Definitely. Well, hey, let's jump back in. Let's go straight to the next section because I think it's just about to get exciting. Bear with me here.
How many kids have you got?
I have 3.
You have 3 kids.
I don't know why it's two. Let me just get rid of that.
I love your kids in the background. It's so
Can you hear
awesome.
them scream?
Yeah. Mine are having a Pokemon battle in another room, so.
Hey, that's not too bad.
No.
Let me just close some of my tabs. I think this might just be
Sure.
struggling a little bit. Don't know why. It's really annoying. Sorry, guys.
All right.
One of the primary ways that a person can show concern for somebody else other than themselves is when they bring a child into the world.
You know what? And I totally agree with you. I think ultimate is not the word we want, but I think it is about maturity. And I think part of maturity is caring for other people. And one of the things about having kids that's so incredible is they have so much to teach us.
How many kids have you got?
I have 3.
You have 3 kids, and I assume, a terrible thing to say. Are they all grown?
3 grown kids, my best friends.
I have 8 kids. My wife and I got married 15 years ago. We've had 8 kids together. And there's certainly a lot of room for personal growth and having a lot of children, because there's a lot of opportunities to care for somebody else. Again, like I said, more than I'm concerned for myself.
Can the disagreeers please step forward?
If you bring children in the world just to bring children in the world and not think about the consequences, that you have to take care of this human being for more than 18 years. It's an entire lifetime, and your entire lifetime, the rest of your lifetime. So a lot of people just are not prepared for that. They're just 21-year-olds that don't know what they're doing, but they're having kids just because society or their family has told them that they should.
Now, do you think that is primarily accidental children, people who weren't planning on having it, or do
No,
you think
I
that's
think-
true of everybody?
I think there are some people that, like the kids on the Maury show, you see them, they're like, I'm 14 and I'm gonna have a baby. And it's like, they're being taught this because they're bought baby dolls and all this kinds of stuff. So that's their aspiration, is to have children instead of becoming a human being, understanding who you are.
If
That's
I
probably a good point to pause there.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, we jump in now. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how they must feel being parents and having someone actually confront them face to face like that. That's why I love Jubilee. These people get so real. These are things that I would never imagine walking up to somebody with a family and saying something like that. Like, did you put thought into this? Were you prepared to raise them from childhood to adulthood? But these are actually probably the most thoughtful questions too, because maybe we're not really fully thinking it through. But that doesn't mean that it's wrong. That doesn't mean that it's wrong. We have this kind of like biological desire to have children, but we also have this natural ability to have children. There's a purpose for it. It made me really upset to hear him speaking to them like that. I'm sorry. It's
What do you think, Winfred?
sorry, it just froze. Sorry.
Yeah,
No, that's right.
I think that he has some underlying issues, right? And you go ahead, Harvey, because there's a further part of him that I can probably talk better about. Go ahead, Harvey. I'll let you have the. Can't hear you.
Right. That's where it doesn't come.
Well, that's why.
These guys, my kids are just melting down.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll pause.
Do you want to?
I think I can pause record. Yeah. It's just, I had paused recording, and so for the last 15 minutes, we actually haven't been recording. So all the in between is not going to be captured, which is great.
Okay.
What your side sees from our side, they're like, oh, well, they're so stressed with kids all day at home, and it is really overwhelming. We talk about it all the time as parents. So maybe from your side, I feel like people see us like, oh, well, life stops, and now because they're so overwhelmed, like they must be unhappy.
Well, that's what people tell us, though. I think if we're gonna have an honest conversation, that's literally like what, especially young women, that's what we're told. You have to pick a career or you have to be a mother. You have to pick a life of having fun. But then when you have children, it's all over. You have to give all of that up and be at home with your children, or you're a bad mother. And if your children become, not the best people in society, it's all your fault. We're going to blame the woman for everything that goes wrong with this human being that you made. It's a lot of pressure.
So you say that society is telling women they have to pick. Do you think that's arbitrary? Or do you think that there is an institution that exists in society that understands that they're going to get something more? They want you to be that powerful woman. They want you to do this. They want you to give up childhood or having children because that's what's going to make the society or the corporations or whoever you want to call it more successful.
I actually think that it's a little bit different. For me personally, it was the conditioning that women, to find joy, needed to do it all and have it all. And you're raised to believe that that's where the joy is, right? People say you can do it all. Now you have the ability to do it all, right? Now we're beyond the women's movement, where you're given the opportunity to work, to go to school, to have an education, all that, but you still need to be a good mother and be a partner and take care of your local community. So to me, I was conditioned to believe that that's where their joy was and having it all. So I really needed to deconstruct that.
But the whole point of roles and framework is to create this environment that is likely to succeed, right? And it's not likely to.
And this is killing me.
That's okay, Harvey.
Well, look, maybe we'll pause there in terms of, what do you guys think about this idea of women need to have it all, work, look after kids, do the housework, do all these things, and there's so many things that you've got to do. What's your perspective, John?
Okay. Having it all, it's impossible. That's the first thing that I think everybody could acknowledge. She was acknowledging it. There's only 24 hours in the day, and having it all, it doesn't have the same definition from you to me. But we try our best. Like right now, with the economic situation, women are being forced to work. And that's just the reality of things. I don't know what the economy is like in the US for you, or for you, Harvey, in Australia, but after COVID, everything changed. So more than ever now, women are being pushed to work. And so we're having to make these difficult decisions of childcare. And if you're in a country or in a situation where you don't have adequate childcare or access to maternity, I totally understand how difficult those situations and decisions can be. Fortunately, I'm in a situation where I have a lot of family. Okay, so I'm able to go to my mother or to my in-laws and ask them for assistance from time to time, or even my sister. But those are choices that my family decided to make, living together, sticking together, and so it's been a blessing for us. But in terms of having it all, I don't see that happening in the near future. But we have to change our expectations. When we think about the Catholic way of having it all, what it only means is that we're bringing our children into the faith, that we're teaching them in the way, and that we're able to navigate these difficult waters with the help of Christ. It's not really a materialistic thing. It's more like having those kids and knowing that everything at the end of the day is going to be okay because we're with Christ, no matter what suffering we have to endure. And she says, that other woman says, like, every single day is challenging. It's challenging. You've got twins right now. I can't imagine how challenging that must be for your day to day. And it's hard. And there are days where we really don't know if we can do it tomorrow, but we go to bed and somehow we manage.
Right. I think that's the biggest push, is that when you have kids, you are really forced to rely on God in so many ways, especially in the stamina and the fatigue, and just dealing with all of that. Especially if you've got multiple kids or you've got a big family, it can be really difficult, even almost on a daily basis. But it's also an opportunity for you to grow closer to Christ and to make a choice towards God, right? Make a choice towards hope, and also a choice towards love, because you've got to help your partner get through it as well. You also kind of put your own things aside to look after that person. And then, of course, at some point you'll hit your limit, and you need to take a moment to take a step back, and to really evaluate the whole big picture and refocus. And then, like you said, John, it gets okay. If you have a grandparent around that can help just a little bit throughout the day, or a friend, or something, someone that you trust, makes a big difference. Like for the first year of having twins, we had a family friend who we paid to cook for us, just meals every day, in big vouchers, and they were, they're a chef themselves, so they kind of know how to cook, and cook in big quantities. So, but that's one thing that we just couldn't do with twins. We were just completely burnt out, thinking, okay, what do we have to make for dinner? Like, that's just too much to even think about. So certainly you've got to set up, when you're having kids, you've got to set up the structure, and you won't realize until everything falls apart. It's easy to just say that, but things kind of have to be stress tested, and then you realize, okay, I can achieve this. Like, we can do it. People have had kids before. We're not. I used to keep telling my wife, like, we're the first parents to have twins. People have done this, and so you just got to survive the day, trust God, and try again tomorrow.
I love how you said that, try again tomorrow, and then everything does fall apart. Like, I saw in your eyes, there are real days where everything falls apart. There's a lot of crying and screaming. Maybe somebody got hurt, or as a parent, I've overreacted with anger, and I've brought that to Christ in confession, because that's something I need to work on. But you're right, we're doing something that's been done for thousands of years. We're not reinventing anything. So it's been done, we can do it, and with Christ there's hope.
Right. She was saying that TikTok shows her that all she sees is parent complaining how wife feels with kids, that she wouldn't want to be in that position, and that's why she's child free. Well, that's just part of it, you know. And just like you said, there are good days and there are bad days. And you know, I got 4 kids, and I don't regret a single day of my life of having kids. Yeah, I do regret some days that things were not easier, and my wife will tell you there are days that we wish that would have never happened. But it's just like you said, we put it all in the hands of the Lord, and we try on the next day. You know, and it also depends on the person. It depends on the outlook you have in life. It depends on the situation you have. It depends on the people you have around you. So it's there's so many things that will determine how you look at things. You know, some people are happy not having kids. Some people are happy having kids. So that statement, child-free people are on average happier. It depends on the person. It depends on.
Yeah, we might be good to cover that off before we jump into the last section. So, the question was: are child-free people happier than parents or people with children?
Right.
And I think, you know, it's kind of a loaded question, because what do you mean by happy? Is happy what we're trying to achieve, or are we trying to achieve heaven? Like, there's a difference, and there's a different pathway to that. So I always say that, you know, we're not here to be happy. We're here to be great. And it's not something that, you know, I can always put into action. But I think it was Saint Pope Benedict XVI who came up with that. Oh, sorry. It's very bad for podcasting etiquette, isn't it? But what do you guys think? Are parents happier, or?
I want Winfred to go first. I love his insights.
It depends on the person, you know. I think, you know, based on my experience, parents are happier, you know, because kids can bring you so much joy, but they can also bring you so much so much pain and anger and sadness at times, you know. I've had every single experience with it. I've had my kids in the hospital. My oldest kid and my third kid had surgery, back surgery. So, you know, we spent days in the hospital. I've had a kid that graduated boot camp just like I did. You know, those are some of the happiest days of my life. Every birth of my kid was the happiest day of my life. So, you know, it's on the eye of the beholder. Child-free people are also as happy as they can be because they decided to live their life that way. So, you know, we can't answer that question except for the person that is living their life.
Yeah. And oh, go ahead. Sorry. Okay, I was gonna say, like, through childbirth, you actually have these hormones that like force you to be happy after birth. I remember the feeling. I saw my son for the first time, and it was just pure ecstasy. And it was like that for days. I had never felt so happy. And it just goes from pain to joy, like, it's crazy. And you're holding your child on your chest, skin to skin. You're right, that first day, everybody says it, but it's true. When it's the hormones surging through you that make that physical connection between son and mother or daughter and mother, and then the way they react to your heartbeat and your smell and the sound of your voice. It's all these little connections, and then every day you're watching this little person change and grow and develop a personality. How can you not be joyful, even in those most difficult moments?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Winfred.
When they look at you with those little eyes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Or they repeat one of your silly mannerisms.
Yeah, exactly right. I think what we're talking about here is the extreme experiences on either side of the spectrum, where it's like a really bad experience or a really good experience. I think the peaks are a lot higher in both directions when you have kids. So obviously, like ecstasy or, you know, pure grief or pure despair.
Yeah.
I think that's certainly really high, and that's the way I explain it to people. Often it's like, when it's good, it's really good. When it's bad, it's really bad. there's no like, yeah, everything else in between doesn't really matter. But like, at some point during the day when I'm present and things are, just going smoothly, I'm also really appreciative that things are just going smoothly, because I've been in the really bad in my circumstances as well. So it's something that makes you more appreciative of just the everyday as well. So if you want to talk about whether people are happy, I think it's a different type of happy and a different type of sad as well. It's something that's, in my opinion, deeper, because you've got it's a personal connection that's attached to it. It's an intimate relationship with that child that you've invested in for however many years. You don't get that when, yes, you invest in yourself, but it's not the same in my opinion.
Right.
So anyway, let's hop on to the last question, which is around women in the workforce.
You can continue that religion, and so you can create a family unit that supports and like. And job on top of your full-time job. So I think there's also a stigma against women who have kids. I think sometimes they are looked down on. Maybe they don't seem as confident because their minds aren't as focused on their job. Yeah, I definitely do think that women are more minded. I think there's a reason why so many men are in power, and I don't think that's a coincidence at all.
Women are just judged way more harshly than men when we don't have children. I especially like on a timeline, like, hello. Oh, tick, tick, tick. I'm not going to sacrifice my career to be a human incubator for the government to populate this country, and they're not even supporting me when I have a child. I'm on my own.
There's a lot of times in motherhood and in my parenthood where I do feel alone. And, thankfully, her dad is very much present in the picture. We've been together for, like 11 years now. So he's there, but there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, babe, you're working all day and I want you home. Like, I'm so overwhelmed with the baby. I mean, it also did put a strain on a little bit of my relationship because for me, him going to work wasn't enough. I was a stay-at-home mom for 3 years. And it's crazy because while I was pregnant, I was going to school and getting my degree for surgical technology. I remember when I started working, I got this great first job out of school for a plastic surgeon. And I was so happy, but it interfered so much with my schedule and the people I have to take care of that I had to stop working.
Well, again, as a single mom, it's like you just have to be more creative than the single dad does. And that is our society, the gender base of our society. The women have to be more creative. Like, I had to find somebody, and I did, somebody who lived with us. I was teaching at the time, and I found this student, and she missed her big family. And I said, you know what, you need a family, and I need a grown-up, so why don't you come and live with us? This is before we called them nannies. So this wonderful woman came and lived with me, with my 3 kids, and it worked. But the point is, it's just too hard to do it on your own. You have to find someone to help you. And again, if we had a society where paternity leave was expected, but it's not, because the society just assumes, well, no, the women will take maternity leave, a short one, but the men don't need to. Well, why not?
If there was more support on a societal level, I think more people actually would have children. I think the reason a lot of people, some people don't have children is because they don't have enough support.
So we had a bad institution before women came into the workforce, which is that success for a man was based off of essentially how far you were up the career ladder, right? If you were the CEO, that meant you were better than the VP, which meant you were better than the president. God forbid you be a labor worker, right? That was kind of the attitude. And when women came into the workforce, y'all inherited that. But the reality is that children are not a competing piece, they're a different piece, right? They're a different thing that adds fulfillment. So I may be a person who gets my fulfillment by being the CEO of a company and making millions of dollars a year, or I may be a person who gets my fulfillment by having children, and I don't need to be that high up on the career ladder. So yeah.
That's probably a great point. Just pause and just reflect. What do you guys think about the career perspective. I think that guy had a really great perspective that it's a different part of your life. You don't necessarily have. I'm on mute, aren't I?
No, you're not. We're just listening.
Oh, okay, great. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's a different part of your life and it's a different season. I think it's not like I think to really invest in your kids will be the most important, the most valuable thing you can do to raise them well, and that takes time. There's often that I've only come to terms with recently. It's like being a parent means a lot of your interests, a lot of yourself has to die, and for the purpose of investing and loving your children and your spouse. You know, it's one of those things that is going to involve sacrifice, and that's your cross.
Can I hop in? I just want to say that I was going to say the exact same thing. When you have a child, you have to let so much of your other things like just die, just go. And one of the huge things that I had to sacrifice was just literally taking care of myself. It was hygiene. There were days where I couldn't shower. This is probably disgusting for you. I just didn't have the energy to shower, or I would be in my bathrobe all day in pajamas and just like, you know, gosh, and the physical pain that you go through where your joint, every single joint is aching, you're totally inflamed and swollen, but it doesn't matter if mom or dad are sick. You've got to go to work and you've got 2 kids to take care of. And that's just what it is. It's your cross. Now, it looked like that woman who was making some inflammatory comments, you know, the government should step in and give us more supports. They're not giving us enough. It just appeared like she wasn't willing to give up enough. Like maybe there were certain things that she's holding on to that she's just not quite ready to let go of, or to die in herself and then give that to a new life.
Yeah, I think a lot of people expect the government to give more than their fair share, you know. My job, just a few years ago, they just started to give paternity leave to dads that are having children. And my guys are taking advantage of it. But back in my day, we didn't have that. And yeah, my wife was the one that got most impacted with the kids. But I was the one that had to go to work, and she took care of the kids. So either way, I would come home and I would help out as much as I could. When she had the kids, and I was at home, I would let her sleep and I would take care of the kids. I would get up in the middle of the night and I would feed the kids. I would change the diapers and I would do that to help out. You know, and I know a lot of dads don't do that, but that's why, you know, when you get a partner, those are things that you want to talk about with your partner so that the other person knows that she's going to get the support that she's supposed to get, right? Because marriage is a partnership where both of them have to pull their weight, right? And if she has to give up some things to take care of the kids, you know, the dad should actually do a little bit more to help out, right? Because it wouldn't be fair that she would actually have to get out there and work so that she can come home and take care of the family, and dad comes home from work and plug down on the sofa and not do anything. I don't find that fair. But in most families, mom takes care of the family and works at the same time. So yes, the women is the one that actually does get mostly impacted out there. When it comes to that question does hit hard, and that's the ugly reality.
Yeah.
It's a real perspective change because you won't force yourself to give up anything if you don't have it, if you're not already in that situation, right? And they kind of touch on this in the discussions, like why would I have kids? I don't want to, you know, not go out dancing, or I don't want to ever, you know, be able to doll myself up and do all that stuff. It's like, well, you will have time to do that when you're a bit older. Don't worry, like it's not going away forever. But it's an investment in your future, in the sense that these children are going to grow up. They're going to grow up really well. They're not going to give you that much headache in the future. So it's a trade-off here. There's always a trade-off in everything, right? It's not like you can spend your time on one thing or the other. So I think there's a big theme here in self-sacrifice. And what else are you going to do that would be more valuable, more beneficial than raising kids? I don't think there's really a lot else. It's kind of, the initial command from God. It's like, go forth and multiply, right? That's what we're kind of made to do. It's in the word life itself. What's the meaning of life? Make more life, live life, right? That's part of it, I think, anyway. That's my personal philosophy.
Yeah. And we also need to reframe, like how you're saying, well, we're not going to be able to go dancing anymore. You have to reframe that. You don't want to put yourself in a box. Just because you're a parent and you're in a season where your children are young, that doesn't mean that dancing or dolling up is going to go away forever. Like, as I said, there were years where I couldn't even, 2 years, I should say 2 years, my children are still really young. But there were many days where I couldn't shower, couldn't do my makeup, and I still had to go to work. And you have to deal with the things as they come. But it's not until the things come your way on that day that you realize just how strong you are. And we should not be teaching women that they're not strong enough to overcome these very minor things. You will dance again. You will do your makeup again. You will go out with your husband again. In those early days when you're struggling, maybe, as you said, Winfred, your wife was taking on the majority of parenting because you didn't have paternity at that time. Like, I'm sure it was a tumultuous period for your marriage too, as it was for mine. You go through those significant hormonal changes and lifestyle changes. You have to push through it as a married couple. What I love about the Catholic Church is they actually enforce that engagement encounters retreat, where before you get married, you actually, and I almost refused to go because I thought, we don't need this. We've been dating for so long. But the engaged encounters actually forced us to spend very thoughtful time with each other for a period of 3 days, discussing what we wanted our marriage to look like, what we wanted our faith to look like, how we wanted to raise our children and our finances and take on contraception and things like that, family planning. I was so arrogant that I thought I didn't need the Catholic Church to guide me. And then I went through that encounter and I thought, our marriage hasn't started yet, but our relationship is stronger than ever. And now we've got this foundation and we're ready to take on kids. We're ready to take on whatever's going to happen because we've written and thought all this out. I pray that everybody has a chance to go through something like that, whether they're Catholic or not, because family is the most important unit of society. It's just, yeah. So yeah, having that strong relationship there, it's so helpful, so helpful.
Yeah,
I think it's like,
you get to know so much about your future partner that you thought you knew, but you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Exactly. One of the things that they talked about was, especially what appears in the Black community, is that, it's kind of commonplace that you will be a single mother. And that's what they talked about in the Jubilee video, where it's like, well, hold on, that's a big problem because you need support to raise a child. You should be by default going into that position. You need to find someone that you want that will stick around, that will be, a good man to actually help you raise a child and a family to support you as well. So, yeah, it's so important that you discussed this earlier on, that you actually have us think about children and what that might look like, and then at least you had a thought about it. And of course they come along and it's all chaos, but at least you have that commitment from your spouse saying, hey, I'm not going anywhere, I love you, and we're in this together, whatever it is, we're in this together. We're exhausted, we're both on the couch, we're both whatever, like tired, and okay, we just need to help each other the best we can. And we also just need to sometimes just, okay, it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about it.
And when God is at the center of your marriage, and somehow you have that supernatural strength to get through that argument or the crying or the fatigue, Christ is there at the bottom, and he's there to fill your cup.
That's exactly right. I could talk forever about,
Yeah.
middle of the night kind of babies crying, and the only thing that really remains for me is that, when I've been in those situations, both children crying all night, and it's like this won't stop crying, I won't go back to bed, and you're completely exhausted, and you're kind of calling out like, God, what's going on here? And it's in those moments that the only thing that remains is grace. Jesus is the only one, the only thing that remains because of your immediate help, to help you stand up again. Nothing else. Like there's no amount of material things that can help you at that point. It's the cross. It's a relationship with Jesus that enables you to carry on, and also just accompanies you in your sorrow. So that's when you really realize, okay, Jesus is here. He's been there into the depths of hell, and he's there with you. I think that sort of experience you can only have with children, and you only have with that sort of responsibility. When you take that responsibility, you take the cross, you take the suffering that comes with it. But the rough period does end, and it does get better.